Because of what we did on this day, in this election, at this defining moment, change has come to America.
How would you describe President Obama's presidency?
Oh my God.
What did he mean to you?
President Obama, he needs to come back. That's what I need him to do right now for me.
You know, it's very hard to talk about Obama because there's just so much you can say about him.
When he won, I was lit. He's still my president, you know, I'm just saying.
He's like my all-time favorite American president because he didn't make the position seem so formal all the time. And like he says things like, okay, like who would imagine that a president would watch like Love and Hip Hop?
For me, it was wow. Like wow. Like
I didn't think that was gonna actually happen, to be honest.
How would you describe President Obama's presidency?
Historical. It was just like, I feel like it gave a lot of people hope.
Hope.
Hope. Like that a country, literally, if you just go back to the 50s and 60s, who saw us still as second-class citizens, but that the highest position literally in the world, a black man had the privilege of leading.
It was my first time voting in the U.S.
And it's black.
I know a lot of other millennials, that was their first time being able to vote. And as millennials, we had all this knowledge. We have this pro-black movement, this consciousness that yes, we are black and beautiful and amazing and so much more than what they try to teach us in school.
Do you mind me asking, did you vote for him?
Yes.
Both times?
Yes. You know, to be able to say that you had a part of that is really tremendous.
For me, it just meant representation. I know at least when I was growing up, if any black person that I heard say, oh, I'm gonna be president one day, you would hear people say, yeah, that's probably not gonna happen. Let's think of something more realistic. So
I would describe his presidency as a legendary one. Not only what his influence was over the country during his term, but even after.
I remember we would have wine and cheese nights, like wine downs, and watch the debates.
But my family made it such a big deal. So I was like, okay, since it's a big deal, you guys are getting newspapers and laminating it.
I'm not even gonna focus on him being black. I'm just gonna focus on him having such good integrity, such good swagger, being so young, being so articulate.
When he did become president, though, that was like life-changing, was empowering. It really meant that a black person can do literally anything. Even though before you already know that, but now this monumental change happens and you can really believe that this is true.
I feel like that was a win, not for the black community, but for all minorities, because we are still a minority. Don't really know how, but
I wasn't even in the United States yet, but it was still followed like he was like running for presidency of Barbados pretty much, because I feel like it was shifting almost like a victory for black people worldwide.
When he was announced president, I was back home in Nigeria, and I remember that night very well. I was watching the news with my dad, and when he was announced president, my dad just jumped up. I was like, yes, finally! Seeing that like expression on my dad's face, I was like, wow, that means like being black is such a huge deal, and being the president, like.
When Obama won, I was in Jamaica, and it was a big thing in Jamaica because we kept up with it. It was even greater when he came to Jamaica. The place where he was, it was full. People were excited to go and just ask him questions, just to engage with him.
It was groundbreaking in a way because it told black people that we could have shit around the world. It was like an affirmation that, you know, we could do things.
He brought America to where it needed to be.
As far as the economy and different things, we had lower unemployment rates in the past 8 years.
Look at what he tried to do for healthcare. You know, so many people that didn't have it before were able to get healthcare. And look what he did for, let's say, some of the treaties that he had overseas, you know. Finally be able to go to Cuba. I went to Cuba, actually, like last year. So it was a great country. And I would have never been able to do that if, you know, he had like some sort of like relationship to break those barriers. So there's a lot of things he did, and I'm really proud of him.
But the things that he did set in motion were not necessarily in favor of just one party, but they were in favor of people who are marginalized, in favor of African Americans, Latinos, immigrants, women.
I was 14 when he got sworn in, but I think looking back at it, I felt disappointed about his term a lot.
What do you think the country's expectations of Obama were, and do you think he lived up to those expectations?
The country's expectations or black expectations?
He's gonna step on some people's toes, but I actually describe it as hypocrisy. There's a lot of things that he had to do as president that majority of the people who voted for him wasn't gonna like. It was great for our generation to see that that could happen, but when it comes to the black community, what did he actually do for us? Besides show us that we could be in the White House one day.
So I'm proud to witness history, but at the same time, you just felt like you were played.
I think he gets a lot of credit as a black president, but how I see it, I don't think he really did enough for the black community. Yeah, we finally had this light-skinned president who finally stepped into the office, but that's not enough. Like, it's not enough to just have someone dare to just be an image when we need a stronger representation of the black people, someone who's gonna take action. I'm sorry to say that, like, no, you're not just coming to just be the president. If you're gonna like support the black community, you need to support it all the way, 100%.
Are you aware that he made it very clear that, he wasn't the president for Black America, he was the president for all of America?
I feel you on that, but Black Lives Matter. So it's just like all lives matter and Black lives don't matter. No, Black Lives Matter. You're our black president.
Wow. Next question. See ya.
What more do you think he could have done?
There are still a lot of policies that legally allow police to discriminate against black and brown people. So I mean, I guess just outlawing policies like that, or just really doing their best to hold people accountable.
I was talking reparations. Like I was like, let's really be for real.
I have some issues with some of the U.S. intervention in African countries or in places like Syria and Yemen. And I say this carefully, but I feel like there's a lot of blood on Obama's hands. And the way I try to hold myself accountable and the way I hold leaders accountable as well, it's kind of hard for me to brush that off. It's kind of hard for me to say that, you know what, that's just a speck on his presidency, because that's people's lives.
But I don't think that just because somebody's black that we should vote for them, or just because a black person's in the White House now all of a sudden all black people were saved, racism is over. On the contrary, it reared its ugly head even more.
It was an eye-opener for everybody. Not because he was black, but how the racist people came out.
There are some white Americans or Americans in general that wanted him to fail or to be horrible, but he definitely stood and represented the country well, represented our nation well.
I'm not saying that like Obama did a bad job, because we understand that even if he wanted like the best, even if he had like an idealistic thought towards the process, we still have Congress.
It was going to be hard because of his party, the party that he identified with. Because at the time, the Republicans held most of the office. So even though he was the president, it's certain channels that he had to go through in order to get things passed.
There were a lot of expectations that I feel like were unreasonable. I think a lot of people thought Obama was going to come and change the entire racial dynamic of the U.S., and that's completely just unreasonable.
And there's some battles that he lost and he couldn't recover from, and people really brought the hammer down on him because he couldn't get over those obstacles.
Man, he got the most shit for nothing. Like he was literally just trying to help America. He was trying to do his job as president, and people tried to set him back at literally every turn.
It was inspiring, but I wasn't gonna expect him to fix everything, so I can't beat him up for not solving all our problems. He's only a president. He can only do so much.
With Obama, it was just that he was just preaching so many things that were just good to our soul.
It was great to see as a person, but yes, also as a man, to have someone that you could see as a role model.
I think Obama as a person is someone that I look up to and someone that I feel like embodies a lot of things that I believe are good in leadership, especially when you compare him to 45.
He created a real domino effect, and may have kickstarted some other movements.
And also for women too, to say, hey, if a black man can do it, a black woman can do it too.
For me, it wasn't necessarily something that was out of this world.
So it wasn't like, oh my gosh, now I can do it. Because now I always thought, you know, if I wanted to do it, I could do it.
So when he became president, it's like, yay, like he's the first black president. But I wasn't ever really focused on him. I was always focused on Michelle Obama.
Michelle Obama, shout out to her. She just did so much as just that dynamic, that couple right there. That's a duo, you know?
Power couple.
Power couple. Great leaders for this black community and just for the whole entire country.
It's up to us, I think, our generation going forward as millennials who were, in a way, the spark plug to get all of that kind of started. It's up to us to keep that going and continue to learn as well as teach going forward.
The general lesson I learned from his presidency is that sometimes, rather than taking a settlement, the goal of having a systematic change, that's like something very powerful.
And I think his presidency is definitely something that we'll be talking about for a very long time.